Hey guys, welcome back to the Hypnos channel. Another awesome soccer global transfer episode discussion with my good friend Jack here in an awesome suit. Just see, this is the kind of stuff Hypnos brings to you. You have a strapping young lad in a suit ready to talk all things global soccer transfers. Jack, do you want to introduce yourself again and then maybe give your favorite team, who you're interested in, what you're excited to talk about, all kinds of stuff?
Yeah, of course, glad to be on. You got to look the part of a sports reporter.
I love
As
it.
some of you guys may know, I am a big Man City fan. So I'm really looking forward to being on, talking about some of the big new City transfers, Calvin Phillips, Sterling, Gabby Jesus. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for being on. So basically, just kind of a good format. We're going to run over the biggest transfer news in this summer window, kind of give our own thoughts, do a little segment on whether the transfer fee was a little bit overpay or underpay. Um, once again, give our own thoughts. Should be really exciting. Just to run over the names we are going to go over. We're going to do Raheem Sterling, Calvin Phillips, Gabriel Jesus, Richarlison, Monet, and then at the end we can get into some speculative transfers where Ronaldo is going to go. Is Frankie De Young to Man U a done deal? All kinds of fun stuff. But let's kick it off real quick with news that broke. I want to say yesterday, depends on when you're watching this, but yesterday and kind of bled into today. Raheem Sterling leaving Man City after a fairly long tenure going to Chelsea. And if we can just, before we jump into overpay, underpay, Jack, as a Man City fan, will Man City miss Raheem Sterling?
That's a really tough question to say because were this 2 or 3 years ago? Absolutely. He is over the course of his, I think he spent 5 or 6 years at City. He's been absolutely tremendous. I think, our highest goal scorer and assister under Pep. He's been a really tremendous player. He's fallen off a little bit over the last 2 years. His finishing has lacked a little bit of a clinical edge that we saw a little bit earlier in his career. So he's a little bit harder to trust. But I'm really looking forward to seeing him get a fresh start at Chelsea. Hopefully, he performs tremendously. Not against us, but I really like him as a player. He's a tremendous lad, and I think we'll miss him in the locker room, especially, and his depth. We don't have another player like him, but like speed, his agility, he's really irreplaceable for us right now.
I agree. I think Raheem Sterling, like you said, definitely had some great years earlier, some great years in an England kit. He does get a little criticism for his national team play, but I think it just shows the quality of the player that he is. Constantly getting like starting 11 starts in the Euros for a quality country like England. So definitely a big name player. The reports are it's a $45 million euro fee. Obviously, that number will fluctuate with add-ons depending on starting 11s, all kinds of contract details that we don't need to get into. But really quick, Jack, when you saw the 45 million euro fee, initial thought, overpay or underpay? Were you happy for the sum that Man City got for Raheem?
I think the price was pretty accurate. That's a pretty reasonable deal for him, a player of his caliber. He's truly a world class player on his day. I was happy with the sum though. So I think on both sides it was a pretty fair deal. It's hard to say whether it's an overpay or underpay. It seems about right in this instance.
Okay, for sure. And like you said previously, you think that is because of something we talked about earlier when we were prepping for the podcast, potential, just in the past few years, he hasn't been completely on form. As someone who is a Man City fan, can you kind of talk to the difference between maybe his beginning with City and the past couple of years?
Yeah, yeah. Sterling, really quick player. He's exciting to watch. I think he's best in a system where he's out wide. He's supported by a bunch of really creative players. We have De Bruyne, we have Bernardo Silva. Um, and the trick of the last couple of years, especially in the last year, the false nine system where there isn't a single striker, it puts a lot of onus on our wide players to score. And he's been pretty good from a distance. He scored a couple of really solid goals outside the box. Um, but he's just missed a couple of tap ins, and I know those are kind of over publicized.
Yeah.
But it makes Pep and our managerial staff, it makes it hard to trust him. it'll be interesting to see how he works at Chelsea because they have like a 3-4-2-1 kind of system. So there isn't per se that like wide striker, the wingers like player in their system. I don't know whether they'll change it. He's pretty tactically versatile. I know like in England he kind of plays a false nine with Kane with like a
Yeah.
top two. Um, but he's not going to have the same support like Mason Mount is De Bruyne.
Hmm.
Don't really have that creative midfield player.
With that said, do you think he'll succeed with Chelsea with, as you said, maybe a lesser supporting cast? Obviously, Chelsea, great football club, but do you think it'll suit his best qualities and will he succeed at Chelsea?
I mean, I think it'll reveal what his issues were. I think he deserves a fresh start. I think that could significantly improve like his finishing and all of that. I think the situation around him is a lot worse. There's no denying that.
Mm.
But I think a fresh start will do him well, so I'll expect him to succeed.
All right. So nice little Raheem Sterling news. Honestly, I love watching Raheem Sterling play, even though it's a little weird. Like when he runs, he like juts out his chest a little bit. Have you noticed that? Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
arms. Personally, as a player who in my rec leagues in my middle school days, all I used was speed. I love watching Raheem Sterling play. I'm super excited. He'll definitely be on the plane to Qatar for England, right, Jack? Yeah,
yeah, 100%.
so it'll be an absolute pleasure to watch him in the World Cup. We both wish him the best for Chelsea. But if you kind of see, if you think about the two transfers that Chelsea made, Calvin Phillips and Raheem Sterling, very similar transfer fees, almost like you're subbing out Raheem for Calvin Phillips, obviously different positions. However, Calvin Phillips transfer fee reported around that 45 to $50 million, 50 million euro transfer fee. Obviously coming from Leeds, midfielder, a lot of quality. Jack, overpay or underpay for Calvin Phillips?
I think it was an underpay. I was really happy with that. I thought it was a bargain. I've like heard that it was like 42 or something plus
Okay,
add-ons, but then we sent Darko Giabi the other way for 5 million or something, and he's not a
interesting.
$5 million player. So really, it was only like 37 plus $3 million of add-ons. So I was really happy for that, given his contract situation. Like Leeds had a lot of leverage. He's a really solid player for them. He's probably their biggest player. He's massive for them. So I was really happy with that.
Interesting. I think what's very what I really enjoy about soccer transfers is the domino effect of each transfer. You see the Calvin Phillips transfer, you see maybe that makes Man City, obviously a club that doesn't need money, more inclined to sell Raheem Sterling though, to recoup those kind of funds and make another run at another player, at another transfer rumor. And then what's really cool is just recently Leeds have brought in Tyler Adams, which is someone we didn't expect to talk about. But now that I'm just talking about Leeds, obviously someone we can dive in after the Calvin Phillips knowledge. Definitely someone me and Jack enjoy watching as an American. But if we jump right back into Calvin Phillips, how will his style of play impact City? And as a second question, what kind of player is he for the people who don't really know, especially considering he's played a lot of his career in the championship and just recently has come up into the premiership?
Yeah. Um, it's really rare for a player of his caliber to be willing to not be like not have the starting role. He's not going to start for us. It's pretty clear that he's going to be a backup to probably Rodri, maybe Gundogan in like that 6-8 role. He's a really solid defensive player, really reliable. He's a great tackler, solid positional awareness. He's yeah, kind of tactically astute. I think Pep will certainly help him with like the mental aspects. But physically he's awesome. He's not a De Bruyne passer of the ball, but he's certainly decent. Like
Who is?
if you need Calvin Phillips, sorry.
No, 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 no.
Um,
Like who is as good as De Bruyne?
oh, that hmm, I don't know. Since like Ronaldinho, there really hasn't been anyone.
Yeah. No, continue, continue.
Yeah, De Bruyne is the class of his own. But yeah, Calvin Phillips. I think he's really solid. And I think he'll improve a lot under Pep. He's a player that like Pep can significantly improve like his mentals, tactical awareness, like a lot of this stuff that he doesn't really have because the lead system didn't really demand it.
Mm,
But he's really solid. I think he's a really good defensive midfielder who played like the six role, the eight role, so like the center defensive mid, center mid. Um,
mhm. So he does have like injury concerns, right, with his times with the Leeds. Um, can without getting into like specifics, how would you justify this move for a Man City as a Man City fan for another player? You're giving a good amount of money. Let's put it at 40 million euros for someone you say will be coming off the bench. And there have been injury concerns with England and with Leeds. Um, what is it that you see that he brings? Will he fight for? Do you think he'll be in the starting 11? At some point this season?
I don't really ever foresee that. I don't think he's technically good enough.
Okay.
Um, but we lost Fernandinho. He left on a free to I think like Atletico Morenieses in Brazil. So we lack a backup to Rodri, and Rodri is just so critical to our system because he allows De Bruyne, he allows Bernardo Silva to really do their thing. So an injury to Rodri would totally derail our season. So he's basically Rodri insurance.
Mhm.
Is he a bit expensive? Yes, like 40 million for a player who's 26. He's certainly not young. He's not going to improve that much. Um, but I think he plays an important role and he allows us to have a little bit more positional flexibility. He's going to play a couple of different roles in the midfield. I mean, he allows like Jack Grealish or something who typically would play the 8, the 10 to maybe move up and play in a little bit more of a winger role.
Interesting. Um, so I think personally, if you look at it, I'm gonna chime in. I'm gonna say it's a little bit of an overpay for Calvin Phillips. I like the signing. Definitely someone who has had English claps as well. We talk about him on the international level. I enjoy the signing for Man City. However, I do think you're paying a little bit too much for him. But if you're Man City, you're able to do that. One target I have enjoyed that maybe you can chime in. I'm throwing Jack a curveball here, but the Brighton left back, Mark Kururella. I'm more intrigued about that potential signing. If you could just give a quick, I don't know, a quick debrief on what you've kind of heard of him, if you've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a really solid player. I like him a lot. Um, he'd challenge more for a starting role than Calvin Phillips will on our left side. Obviously, we have Walker, we have Cancelo. Those both of those guys are going to demand starting roles, but he'll play a lot more than Phillips.
Mhm.
He's solid. He's a lot more of a technical player. He moved to Brighton a year ago, and he really excelled. I thought he was great. He's a really solid crosser of the ball. He's good offensively. He's good defensively. On the ball, off the ball. I think it's really solid City signing. Now, the concern with that is he could prove to be a little expensive because of that contract situation.
Mm.
Brighton has a lot of leverage, so they're not going to sell unless City offers a lot more than what the Calvin Phillips deal was. I'm a little concerned about that because I don't really know if we can afford that. We'll see. But
Yeah,
with Sterling moving, we might have a little bit more free cash, so we'll see.
I agree. The Brighton's made it clear. I believe the asking price is 50 million euros. Obviously, Man City wants to get that number down. Like I said, the Raheem Sterling, I like it a lot because, like you said, his quality wasn't as much there for Man City, and that transfer fee allows you to do so many more things. Whether that is get another left back like Mark in the team playing, I think that could be great for the that could be great for Man City. And personally, just as a spectator, I would like I would be okay with losing Raheem Sterling and using that money for Mark Gururella. I think that'd be a win for Man City.
I tend to agree with that. Yeah.
All right. If we shift away from Man City news, Jack has told me he only wants to talk about the club, but I negotiated it down to some other clubs as well. But if we pivot into a transfer, I am just really happy about. I don't know why, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I liked him at Man City. Actually, now that I'm saying it, this is still Man City news. But
Yay!
yeah, he's done
You
it
can't
again.
escape.
He's done it again. But the transfer is about a 5'9", number 9 striker stud named Gabriel Jesus, who is going from Manchester City to Arsenal for a transfer fee of 45 million euros. Personally, I love this deal for Arsenal. You look at the signings, what their big signings in history have been. At the attacking positions, they got Aubameyang and Lacazette a while ago. Aubameyang has had his issues, but I think he's given them good production. Lacazette, maybe not so much. But I would say I love this deal for Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, 95 goals in 236 competitions. Overall, he's going to play in the World Cup with Brazil, who many people think are title favorites. Um, if we say this is a great signing for Arsenal, what does that mean for Manchester City? What was the motivation behind this transfer, Jack?
Yeah, I think it's a tremendous deal for Arsenal to get a player of his caliber for I think it was about $45 million. Really a steal.
Mhm.
We had to sell him because his contract was running out. So we didn't really have as much leverage considering he could leave on a free the next year. And with Holland coming in with Julian Alvarez from, I think, River Plate,
Yeah.
he's not going to play as much next year. He's going to be tremendous for Arsenal, though, because he can play. He's going to immediately come in and be their number 9. He can also play out wide, though, who's excellent for us in the last half of the season. He was on an absolute tear.
If you think, obviously, Jack's watched a lot Man City football compared to me, but if you know you're selling Raheem Sterling, why not kick Jesus out wide in that Sterling spot and have him run next to Erling Haaland?
Yeah, you are smart. I'm a little bit worried about that. We have a little bit of a lack of depth out wide. Like we have Foden's going to play on the Foden and Grealish are both going to play on the left wing. On our right, I don't really know.
I
It's
forgot that
gonna be
Grealish
Riyad
is left.
Mahrez. And then we kind of lack some depth. We got Cole Palmer. We have James McAtee, who are both youth prospects.
Okay.
But having three like solid professional players to cover two positions it's leaving us a little shallow. So we might come in and sign someone. I've heard like Serge Gnabry from Bayern, but you're absolutely right. I'm leaving. It's a little bit worrisome, especially considering it's a long year. We're going to be competing on all fronts. It's a World Cup year. So one injury, and it leaves us really, really shallow.
That's a very good point. It's going to be a great year of soccer, but the teams will have to have depth. Interesting you mentioned Gnabry. They just signed, or Byron a while ago, got Monet. So as another winger, Gnabry could be moving back out to Man City. If we dive into the Arsenal side a little bit, like we said, 25 years old, not considered a youngster, but there's still youthful exuberance to Gabriel Jesus that I love. Great signing, like you said. I also have another. Okay, we'll dive into Arsenal really quick. How good is this for Arsenal? There's been after the flurry of events with Man City getting Erling Haaland as their new number 9, um, Liverpool getting Nunez as their new number 9, which were both like massive, massive signings, and then Arsenal maybe not having the funds of a Liverpool or Man City, or not having the attraction to bring a Haaland or Nunez, able to get Gabriel Jesus to get their own number 9. I really like it a lot. What does this kind of mean for the club?
I like it for them. Obviously, Mikel Arteta, who is now the Arsenal head coach, he used to be an assistant coach for City. So he's already pretty familiar with
Right.
Gabriel Jesus. He'll come in and start for them. I know they gave Eddie Nketiah a contract extension, but he'll probably be their backup number 9 for Arsenal.
Interesting.
Um, I like him for Arsenal. I think he fits their style of play. Mind you, he's not a world class striker by any means. We played with a false 9 last year because he wasn't up to scratch. But he should be pretty solid for them. His positional versatility means he'll start a lot of games. And he really unlocks a lot of players. brilliant presser of the ball. He's really tactically astute. He can finish, and he's a really solid all-around striker.
I agree. Is he going to be starting consistently for Brazil? Do you know?
Hard to tell. I'd say so. They used to play Firmino ahead of him. They were kind of like competing for that number 9 spot. They have Vinicius, and Neymar,
Yeah.
who can both kind of play like in a 4-2-2 up top, but they're not like an all-out striker. I'd imagine that he probably will start for them in the World Cup, which is another reason why he wanted to leave City, because to get like regular football ahead of the World Cup is really important for him.
Interesting. Um, and then, yeah, what I wanted to say, what you touched on, is the contract negotiation aspect. Was there any talks between an extension between City and Gabriel Jesus, or like you said, was him wanting consistent playing time, the Man City wanting to, however be it, make room for Holland, obviously. Were there any talks or yeah,
Um, I don't really know. I'd imagine that we probably tried to keep him around on like a cheap contract, but he really wasn't going to take it. And I can understand him wanting to move and get a fresh start where he can, like, he's a player where he can, like, there's no point for him to sit on the bench at City when he can start and excel at a club just a little bit below that. So it makes a lot of sense for the player. It makes a lot of sense for City to sell him because he wasn't super critical. And to get a little bit of money before he leaves on a free makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for Arsenal. So that's a transfer that makes a lot of sense for all parties.
for sure. I love it. If we turn to another 25-year-old youngster, Jack recently went on the podcast of Alex Rojas, who was on the Hypnos channel, close friend and soccer fanatic like Jack and me. Maybe me not as much as the other two, but I still love soccer. But Richarlison, 25 years old, also is he Brazilian? He is Brazilian,
Hmm.
right? Yes,
Yep.
also
Yeah, that
Brazilian.
player.
Lots of similarities. $60 million euro fee from Everton to Tottenham Hotspur. Jack, let's get back into what I really loved when I came up for it in the pre-podcast. Overpay or underpay for Tottenham?
Massive overpay. He is not
Wow.
worth it.
He's
I,
not.
I am not. I talked about this on Alex's podcast. I do not rate Richarlison. He's not that good of a player.
Okay.
Like he's
Okay.
he's not that good.
Would you like to elaborate?
Sure. He's you'd expect him to kind of he came into the like to Everton a couple of years ago when he was really young, and I think he got overhyped. Like you have like a young Brazilian talent moving to the Premier League, everyone's expecting him to be like Neymar or like there's an intense track record of young Brazilian talents just exploding. Vinicius Jr. with Real Madrid, Rodrigo with Real,
Mhm.
um, Messi, South American. So people kind of have that expectation of him. He's never matched it. Everton clearly sucks. They're not good at all. They're worse after Richarlison left because he was a significant attacker for them. He's not a $60 million player. I'm sorry. Like Sterling went for 45. Jesus went for 45. He's significantly worse than all of them. I don't know. And
That's
Spurs don't even need him.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say before. I was saying, look, if you just look around, I think it's okay. If we can draw a comparison to the NBA, which I love, for the people who don't know, Rudy Gobert gets traded for essentially 5 first-round draft picks. So Kevin Durant also wants to be traded, but like now what's Kevin Durant worth? 8 first-round draft picks because he's better than Rudy Gobert. Like you said, Gabriel Jesus, it, personally, in my opinion, I like him more than Richarlison. I like this Sterling more than Richarlison. If they're going for 45 million, why is Richarlison going for 60 million? Especially considering I did a little bit research before. He did sign a 5-year contract, I want to say, with Tottenham. So he's gonna be there in his 30th year. So if you don't like him in his 25th year, I don't think you're gonna like him in his 30th year. So it's just I feel like with that kind of money Tottenham was going to have, it could have been used better, right?
I agree. Like the man scored only like 43. He scored 43 goals in like 135 appearances. Like and secondly, he's not going to start. He's going to back up either Son or Kane. Like you
Exactly.
don't need to pay $60 million for a backup when Spurs they're not like a complete squad. They need center backs. They need center mids.
They needed other positions filled.
Yeah.
So also additionally, before he went to Everton, Everton bought him for 50 million euros from Watford in 2018. I didn't even know Everton had 50 million euros.
Nor do I.
That is
And they
insane. I think I also want to talk about how, like you mentioned before, I think this is a good bit of business for Everton, right? If you're gonna stink, why not get paid $60 million for your best player? I think that's a great bit of business by the team president. I don't know how the contract negotiations went down or anything like that, but you get them off your wage books. I love this for Everton. Like you said, for Tottenham, it is a little bit puzzling. We will say, or I will say, Richarlison is going to play for the Brazilian national team. He does have quality. He's going to be in Qatar. This is a a quality player. He's playing in the Premiership. He's doing good things. He's not worth this fee, like Jack said, and I don't think he's an exceptional player, especially considering, like you said, I hadn't even thought about it. Like he's not going to beat out Kane or Son or anyone for this. Um, it's just a little bit puzzling for Tottenham. But if we move into other news after Tottenham's disastrous transfer negotiations and decisions, we kind of move into another player I really love, which is Sadio Mane of Liverpool. So Mane goes to Bayern Munich. He completes a 32 million euro move from Liverpool to Bayern. I believe. Jack, why is that number so low for the quality of player Sadio Mane is?
Yeah, you're right. It absolutely stands out. Bayern's done some really solid transfers this window. They got like Nusser Mazraoui, Ryan Gravenberch from Ajax,
Yeah,
but Sadio Mane, yeah, absolute steal. They got him for that because he's 30 years old. He's in the final year of his contract, um, and I don't think he was going to renew. So
mm,
I guess it makes some sense to sell him, especially because they already got his replacement in Darwin Nunez.
mm.
But you're absolutely right. $30 million is a little cheap for a player of his talents. I think the fee could rise to about $41 million with add-ons.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly. It could be a little bit more to $41 million euros. Byron also locks him up for a 3-year contract. He will be playing that with them for 3 years. I love the move for Byron. Obviously, there are age concerns. What is a 33-year-old Sadio Mane? Definitely, it's not going to be prime Sadio Mane, but if you just look at the production on the international level with Senegal, he's got him in the World Cup. He's going to be a mainstay for them. He's going to be great. Production with Liverpool, just the titles and the championship wins, the goals, the pairing with Mohamed Salah will arguably be one of the best winger pairings in, I could, not knowing Premier League history that well, I could say Premier League history, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, great winger
Deadly.
pairing. Um, what is the, like you said, 1 year left on his contract for Liverpool? Is the motivation here for Liverpool to maybe get something for him before he leaves on a free transfer, to kind of soften the blow of the Nunez transfer fee?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. And also, Sadio Mane is a player who relies tremendously on speed. So his like decline will really just get it like accentuated. A
Mm,
33-year-old Sadio Mane, he's not going to be that good. I think
ex-
he's reaching the end of his prime. It makes some sense to get a little bit of money. I thought they could have gotten a lot more. Like I thought it could be like 40 plus add-ons. Like he's a better player than Sterling, even if he's a little bit older. But you
yeah,
know. Bayern's tremendous.
I agree completely. I also think what Sadio Mane brings up is like an interesting point. Like, just as a common soccer fan, one might think, well, like you see Byron got Sadio for, let's put it at 35 million euros with add-ons, potentially 40, whatever it may be. You can say, why didn't Everton use the Richarlison money to get a Sadio Mane? I think what's really interesting before we bash Tottenham or like Everton is like a lot of times like players like Raheem Sterling and Sadio Mane more so than Raheem Sterling, because of everything they do for the club, they can also kind of pick the destination they want to go to. Liverpool, um, obviously, they know how much Sadio Mane meant to them. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp knows how much they meant to him, and they're not going to sell Sadio Mane to a Chinese giant or something if he doesn't want to go there, right? I'm sure he had a stamp of approval to go to Bayern Munich before they signed all the papers and stuff like that. So I do think that is another nuance of the transfer market. If you want to just like touch on that a little bit, Jack.
Oh yeah, precisely. That's a very good point. I think because he's accumulated so much respect on the Liverpool side, he's been super loyal. He's been a really solid presence in the locker room. That could be another reason why they sold him. He could have asked to be sold. He didn't want to spend another year at
Yeah,
Liverpool. He wanted to go to try new pastures. I
yeah.
can't blame him. The man spent a lot of time in Liverpool, which is not the greatest city in the world. Um, and it might be interesting to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree.
That's probably why they sold him when he did.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at it on paper, you say maybe Liverpool could have got more, but after everything Sadio did for them, to send him to a place like Byron where he's going to be well taken care of, he's going to have the chance to compete in the Champions League for a Bundesliga title. I think it's a good bit of business for everyone, but especially Byron Munich. Um, and if we jump into another thing, just talking about Liverpool, guys, we did not prep for any Darwin Nunez talks. So I'm really hitting Jack on the fly here. Kind of shows how good he is. But Darwin, as he stretches out on
Yeah,
camera.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I got
but
this.
but Darwin Nunez, as mentioned before, comes from Beneficia, I believe, goes to Liverpool for an initial fee of 75 million euros, but that number is expected to raise substantially with 25 million euros, I believe, in add-ons. So it can kind of be in that 90 to 100 euros transfer fee, which is a huge transfer fee for a big number nine. Jack, what was your initial thoughts about this when the news broke a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, if you want to break it down into like underpay, overpay, I thought it was a massive overpay.
Really?
I don't.
Okay. I
Yeah, I
love
don't
I love
think.
that we're bringing this segment in. I love this. I
Yeah,
love this.
you
Okay.
got it. You got it.
All right, Jack, I'll
The man
set
is
you up
not a
as
$100 million player. He's just not.
he's not. He's not.
No.
Okay.
He's 22. He scored like 34 goals. In,
Yeah.
for Benfica in the Premier Division in Portugal.
Hmm.
The man has had fewer appearances than Holland has had goals. Like people are comparing them. They're totally different. He is, mind you, a very solid player. He's physical. He
He's also
reminds me
huge,
a lot
right?
of Cavani. The man is massive.
He's huge, right?
Yeah, enormous.
We will say Holland is humongous as well for the Man City supporters, but Darwin is also a humongous individual, right?
Yeah, you could have them fight, put them on pay-per-view, and you'd recoup like a significant portion of the transfer fee.
You,
And no,
that is great.
call
That's
me up,
great.
call me up.
Um, what I wanted to ask here is, I believe this news broke. Which one broke first, Holland or Nunez?
I think it was Well, we knew Holland was coming for a while, like back in May, April. But he was officially announced a little bit before the Nunez transfer was.
So I also agree with that. I think like the soccer community knew like it was Holland to Man City for a while before it happened. If you're Liverpool, if you're Jurgen Klopp, if you're the team president, um, in like your strategy meetings, you've obviously know Man City is going to get a massive, the best number nine prospect, I could say ever, but at least in the past 20 years, right? Um, the prospect on quality with Kylian Mbappe. That's like a conversation for another time. But if you're naming the best prospects, it goes Killian, Erling, or whatever order you want. But Erling, obviously, huge. He's going to be a game changer for the Premier League for Man City. If you're Liverpool, was this a reaction transfer? You think potentially, like if Man City gets their number 9, we have to get another number 9 in Nunez.
I don't know. I don't think the like decision to sign him was because I think they knew that Mane was leaving. They probably identified him a long time ago. But I do think that the price was. Like I
Okay.
think they could have gotten him for significantly cheaper if Benfica knew that Liverpool was desperate. They needed a new number 9. They needed to compete with City next year on all competitions,
Yeah.
especially because they're losing Mane.
Yeah.
And Firmino's not what he used to be. So
So
Benfica was able to kind of hold them out for a little bit more. So that's why I think it's a little bit of an overpay.
so a good bit of business by Benfica to kind of see what else was happening in the Premier League.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that is all on the transfer side. Before we wrap up, want to jump into some rumors. Let's first jump into an open-ended Ronaldo transfer. If you just want to give like a brief like what's going on with Ronaldo? He won every award possible with Man United. You know what I found? I love the stat is Man United didn't win a game when he didn't start for them. That's an
Yeah. Crazy.
insane stat. That's an insane stat. I don't want to get into like a Ronaldo Messi conversation, but I love Ronaldo and it shows the impact that superstars like Ronaldo and Messi have on teams, especially Ronaldo. But that's crazy. They couldn't win without him. Um, where is he at? Is this essentially like a trade request in the NBA, a transfer request? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very likely. The second best player in world football. Um, he is upset. I heard that he was getting like a 25% transfer or his 25% salary cut because they didn't make the Champions League. I don't think his problem is with Ten Hag, the
Okay.
manager. I think he's just upset with like the direction of the club in general. He's obviously not used to playing with like McTominay and Fred. He's used to like Modric and Cruz and really, really solid players. So he's looking in the training field and he's just confused how these people are professional footballers. So I can understand him wanting to leave. I think Chelsea makes a
No,
lot of sense.
no Fred slander on this channel, Jack. All right, Fred is a stallion, I say. But I think about a month ago there was a report from the Athletic or maybe Bleacher Report where it just kind of did like a deep dive into Manu's like dysfunctional season. And it talked a lot about how the lack of urgency really irked Ronaldo with players like they weren't training as hard as he was, specifically like Martial and others, like especially the youngsters. But I think that's something where it's like been festering for a while. Firing coaches or managers and bringing in new ones isn't going to solve all that, right? It's definitely an organizational problem. That being
Yeah.
said, if we think he's out of there, where do you think he's going, Jack?
Tough to say. I think there are a couple of like the people who can afford him. Like you got PSG, Newcastle,
It's
Chelsea,
crazy that
and the people
Newcastle
who like
like
need him. Yeah,
isn't
hey, Newcastle's rolling in dough. They
is
don't.
no, but
They.
isn't that crazy that like that now Newcastle's like the a giant, right? A money giant. Like it
It's
used
insane. It's
that's
insane.
crazy.
That would be really funny. United at
That would
or
be funny.
Ronaldo at Newcastle. I and like the teams that need him, really like Chelsea, Bayern, maybe. I think it makes a lot of sense to go to Chelsea. Like I think that's really the only scenario where I see him actually moving. Maybe back to Sporting,
Yeah,
but
I
Chelsea.
agree.
But
I agree. I think I saw a PSG Instagram graphic where it was just like Ronaldo, Neymar,
oh yeah, I
uh
saw that too.
Mbappe, Messi, and that I
That's
swear to
crazy.
God, that gave me goosebumps. Where he would play, I don't know, but that gave me literal goosebumps. I will say Chelsea was definitely the number one location, but you look, they just dropped 45 million euros on a player at the same position as Ronaldo. Ronaldo can play striker as well, and um, he can do all things because he is God. But his natural position is left wing, and that is also Raheem's natural position. So if you kind of look at it like that, um, if Chelsea was going to get him, I don't see the Raheem transfer happening, which kind of leaves Byron, which also picked up Monet, who is another winger. So you kind of look around and there aren't a bunch of places that have the capital to do it, like you were saying, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. I've heard like whoever the Bayern like head dude is like Ahmedzovic or whatever.
Yeah.
He said no. He's like Ronaldo is not the type of player we want
Just
because
saying.
he's not the best player of all time. He's not
Really?
that good. I
Really?
think Chelsea makes sense because they got like Todd Bowley, the new owner. He needs to make like an impact signing.
Yeah.
Um, I think it makes sense. I've heard that they're only asking for like 15 million or something, which isn't that much.
Really? I've also Chelsea also makes sense. 15 million. What kind of contract is he on?
All of the money,
All of the money.
all of it.
Yeah.
He will eat the club.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this could be like my gut tells me personally I see this like fizzling out and him just staying in a Man U uni, honestly, and then um like you said, and then just prepping for the World Cup. Portugal, obviously, a top country. I feel like it's obviously Neymar, Messi, Ronaldo's last World Cup run. Oh, just gave me an idea. We should make a World Cup episode.
That'll
Um,
be sick.
that'd be
Like World
so
Cup
sick.
predictions and stuff. That'd be
That'd be
awesome.
so sick. We should definitely do that.
Yeah.
But Neymar and Messi and Ronaldo, to a lesser extent, they've all made it exceptionally clear that it's their last World Cup. So I don't feel like just personally he would want to go through like the boarding experience of a new club, everything. Obviously it's speculative. We don't know what's in his mind, but I see him staying at Man U. If you had a prediction for, um, I'll give you this transfer window and winter transfer window. Where is he at the end of? Where is he in February? Right? Where is he at the end of the winter transfer window?
I don't see him moving in February. I don't see him moving in the winter transfer window. I'd say right now it's either United or Chelsea. I'd say 60% United, 40% Chelsea.
Okay.
So most likely that he'll stay. I don't see him going anywhere else but Chelsea.
I agree. I agree. If we get into our last piece of conversation, it's been an absolute pleasure. Don't want it to end, but if you want more
Uh,
Jack, make sure to subscribe, comment. He will definitely be coming back along with Alex Rojas. And every time I say Alex Rojas, I want to say Danny Rojas so bad.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want
Such
to
a
say,
good TV show. It's
oh
so good.
yeah, from Ted Lasso, I want to say it so bad. And our Formula One gang. Yeah, but if we get into our last piece of business, it is Manchester United related. They have made it exceptionally clear of their desire to sign Frankie De Young, a young midfielder with Barcelona who has done great things there. The numbers that are floating around are 65 million euros, I want to say. According to ESPN reports, this is going to be big for, like Jack said, Eric Hag, the Hug, however you pronounce it, the new manager, top summer target. Jack, what is kind of the holdup between this Man United Barcelona deal?
I think it's the player because I think United really want to buy. They're super desperate. Barcelona probably want to sell because they want to get new blood in there or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and he's on a massive contract.
Barcelona
I
is
think
also exponentially in debt, so the money could help.
yeah,
Like,
they're a billion.
how are they operating? How are they? I don't get this. We should make a video about this too. Like,
Yeah, we should. We
what are they?
should.
It's like upwards of like a billion in debt, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that, like, and they keep like delaying the payments. I think the problem with Barcelona, like, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think La Liga has a lot of like problems with like you can't like like register players when you're so much in debt. They're
Okay.
having a little bit of trouble with that. And I just think De Jong just doesn't want to leave, which I can't blame him. As I said, Fred, not very good. McTominay, even worse.
I told
Ronaldo,
you, no Fred slander on the
I'm sorry.
podcast. All
I'm
right.
sorry. Sorry. No more
It-
Fred Lander. I want to come back, so I will keep
yeah,
Fred's name out of
no,
my mouth.
we want to have you back, but if you keep insulting Fred, you're not going to come back. Like it's
Bad, bad. Um, yeah, but Barcelona's midfield obviously really solid. They got a lot of really young, like Gavi, Pedri, Ansu Fati.
yeah.
Um, a lot of good players, all whose name end in I, which I didn't realize.
Mm,
But
mm. Um, yes, I agree. Point well taken with just, you know, where Man United is at compared to Barcelona. You also have to think um, he is a Netherlands player who greatly enjoyed his time at Ajax and then has, like you said, I believe greatly enjoyed his time at Barcelona. Um, I don't think he wants to move. Like you said, it's a very good point. Um, he is a great player and he'd be very important for Man United at this level. He is going to play in the World Cup for Netherlands. He's a great young player, I believe 25 years old. Um, he's a great midfielder. It's a big price. But like you said, that is a very good point about the holdup. I do honestly, if I go with my gut feeling, I see it getting done. Whether Man United pays like 80 million euros or something like that, I do see it getting done. Jack, at the end of the summer transfer window, is Frankie De Young in Barcelona or is he in Manchester?
I disagree. I think he stays. I, I'd say maybe like a 30% chance that he moves, maybe less than that. I just think Barcelona, United they have a number of different targets. I just don't see them splashing the cash on Frankie De Jong, especially because he's going to demand massive wages. I don't see it getting done.
There you go. My last question: would a De Young signing compel Ronaldo to stay? You think?
I can very much see that, especially because he's going to deliver like some quality service to him and Bruno Fernandez
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the midfield. I think that it's a good point. I didn't even think about that. They could lure him to stick around for another season.
But I will say, as being friends with, we have a mutual friend who is a Manchester United friend or Manchester United fan,
Oh,
and it's just stupid. The club sucks. They never win anything. They're not even in
thank you.
Champions League.
Thank you.
Like, what are they even doing? Manchester City, better Manchester team. We said it
You're my
here.
favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we understand why Frankie doesn't want to go to Man U, right? Like, you're not going to win anything. You're not going to do anything. Um, that being said, it's been an awesome episode, Jack. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really enjoyed it. Jack will definitely be back on the channel. If you guys want to check out the other podcast he made with Alex Rojas, or Danny Rojas, whatever you want. Post to Post, like we said, it is on podcasts and Spotify. It's the third episode, I believe. A lot of great points. Really enjoyed listening to that one as well. You can hear him rip Richarlison again and Alex try to defend it but post to post. Thank you, Jack, so much for coming on. We'll definitely have you back. It's been awesome.
Thanks so much for having me. It was an honor. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Make sure to subscribe for some more Whole City content and a bunch of other cool stuff like Formula One and Premier League news. With that, we will see you a little bit later. Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
See you.